Kabaka not only is prohibited from being a partisan. It is in the Constitution of Uganda. Some people don't know that. It was written in the 1995 Constitution, under which we operate today, that the Kabaka and all these other chiefdoms, the leaders of our traditional leaders, as we call them, cannot engage in partisan politics, right? So when an event like that, the Buganda, or those of us who serve in the Kabaka, try to, as much as possible, to prevent even the appearance that we intend to divide people, because this was an event where you have all these stakeholders, different energies, different interests, and either way anything goes, it could be looked at as having been pre-designed with the intent to divide.
The property that belonged to Mengo, how much of that property can you give back to Buganda that the colonialists left behind? But also remember that when colonialists built these structures, they were for the colonialists to operate, to do their work in trade and all that. So when they were leaving, they handed it to Buganda, because Buganda at the time was the established government. But it's not that they were strictly built by Buganda, and Buganda became the custodian of these buildings as we built constitutions and government, because the people that built these structures were Ugandans. So when we get a constitution, some of this property goes back to the Ugandan government, because at the time, the monarchy was abolished. There's no monarch. Now, when this is re-established, it becomes extremely difficult when you go back to history to trace this. These guys got this, but they didn't earn it. They didn't deserve it. It's like the Bunyangabu and Bugangaizi, when you saw we went into a referendum for them to be returned to Bunyoro, because Buganda connived with colonialists against Kababega. We joke too much in Africa, especially Uganda. We are joking too much. For me, I emphasize rule of law. It must be followed to the letter. And to be honest, we must protect the voiceless, the people that are defenseless. If Mr. Museveni does not do that, then he should stop going around telling people that the peasants are his people, abantu ba bulijjo, because it's omuntu wa bulijjo anyigiriziddwa. It's the local people that are suffering at the hands of few who have guns, who have money, who have connections in government.
Yes. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from and watching us from. This is the weekly media news roundup by usual suspects. As usual, I have Agaba in the studios. I can have Mr. Tukikube, Salongo Chigundu. I like the way you're putting on the smile. This time I will guess, but in another way, not what happened last time. But I know why you're smiling.
Well, I was out and about in the region, and I like this region. I love this region. So yes, that's in and of itself is a good enough a reason for me to smile. And I'm awake. Thank God.
You're awake. Yeah, of course. Every day that we wake up, we give glory to God.
Absolutely.
So welcome, guys. Without wasting any time, I know Baguma, Babi, you must be having something you want to tell us, but greet our viewers and then you can give me your your good or bad event of the week or the past 2 weeks.
Good morning, good evening, our viewers, wherever you're watching from. Here we are again to share with you what was in the news these past 2 weeks. And I'm sure there's a lot that happened these 2 weeks, both internationally and locally in Africa, especially East Africa. We're happy to be with you guys.
All right. So any good or bad things that happened to you? Anything you want to share with the viewers and listeners?
Yes, we are seeing the Gaza situation escalate. We saw Africa and US fail to reach trade agreements. The Kabaka's 32-year anniversary. We saw Southern Sudan, Uganda clash, the two armies clashing, Museveni's visit to Kenya, Then also we saw the Museveni's visit to Mengo, and basically to me that was what attracted my attention in the news these 2 weeks, and that's all I can say for now. And maybe CAF, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda hosting the Africa Cup of Nations. I don't know whether that's the correct one. You will correct me, but I know there is CAF going to be hosted by the 3 nations.
I am not laughing about that, but you know, Chigundu, when I asked Agaba about his bad or good event, the man is so much entrenched in the politics that he no longer wants to share. You know, I can remind you one of the good events. Chigundu, was it 1 week ago, when Agaba came with his best half to Chicago, and they spent how many nights in Chicago here?
Yeah, we missed a birthday there. What was good?
Joan's 50th birthday.
And I thought that would be a good event for you to tell us how you and your sweetheart had fun. Because I know Chigundu will be telling us, we were celebrating his birthday, and that one I know if we start talking about it, the show will show. So I thought Agaba would share with us what happened. So Agaba, do you want to give me a minute?
I don't take that for granted. I don't take that for granted. It's always amazing, hanging out with her. So I don't take that for granted.
You don't take that for granted. So how is Indiana?
Happy belated birthday.
Yes, happy belated birthday to our dear wife.
Yes.
Actually, 8th is my birthday, 8th of August.
8th of August is your birthday. Right. Yeah. So good, please let us know. We'll sing for you, maybe the other week. So how is Indiana?
Indiana is warm. Indiana is warm. We are around experiencing temperatures of between 72 to 86. It's pretty hot right now. So we try to keep inside as much as possible to fend off the heat.
Chigundu, the CEO of Tukikube Media, Salongo, the man who has been in the news. Greet our viewers. Tell me anything bad or good. Don't be like my brother Agaba, please. Let's not go into politics. Share with us anything.
Well, good evening, good morning, our viewers around the world, wherever you are. Salongo Chigundu is my name. Tukikube is also another name. Elirikola Saint. I am here again in the Midwest to give you what I see or what caught my eye in the news in the region, the East African region, and perhaps internationally. I'll start by I'm happy to be alive. Life is happening here in the Midwest. Lots of celebrations. I was out in Michigan. The Ugandan farmers in Michigan who have embarked on a journey, unique journey. They are the only community that I know about here in North America that have actually a viable business that now today makes them money. Started many years ago, and yesterday was their launch. They launched it officially to the public. So I'll be telling you a little bit about that. Here in my backyard, there's a picnic, an annual picnic that comes up or that is done for the community. And this time, we're happy to be hosting the ambassador, Uganda's ambassador to the United States. She's coming into this region for the first time. Ambassador Robika Konge usually goes around the states. She leaves Washington and she tries to engage the community. So we are happy to host her here in the Midwest for the first time. And back in the region, in East Africa.
Before you go, you could remind some people, because I know Agaba lives in Indiana. He might take interest and come. Which date is it? The time, if you know the time?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the picnic is next weekend. This coming Saturday, the 9th.
August.
It's an all-day outdoor event. Plan on coming in as early as you can. If you're traveling from far, bring a chair, bring a picnic chair or chairs to sit on. If a tent, if you have one, usually it's sunny and bright. Put on your sunscreen, put on your glasses, come and be ready to hang out and listen to all kinds of and engage. There are games. There's speakers here and there randomly, but most importantly, this time the chief guest, who is the ambassador, she is coming in with a crew, I understand, from the embassy. They're going to help distribute those who have already applied for their identifiers, the Indagamontus, right? And they have not been able to travel to Washington to pick them up. You have the opportunity to come and pick it up from here. So if you know anybody out there who at one time applied for this through their various stops, they usually stop at conventions and sometimes where pre-arranged, and they come in and then they go work on process identities, these Ndagamontus, and then they bring back to Washington, and they expect people to travel to Washington to go pick them up. So if you have not had the chance to pick up yours and you're closer here in the Midwest, they will bring it here. So please let everybody know that this is an opportunity for them to save themselves an air ticket. Just drive to Chicago, August 9th. And we'll be showing them the flyer also as we go along.
Yeah, I think you also need to add, especially people like Kagaba who are in Indiana, that the ambassador will be there. He'll be ready to answer any questions concerning.
Of course, she's coming to engage. Yeah. She will answer any questions that you have on services that the embassy delivers and more. So she's here to engage the community.
That's positive. Actually, that's positive. The ambassador coming around, but I also think the chairman, the organizing chairman, who's the chairman of the Ugandan community in Chicago, has done a good job. He reached out to me. He sent the flyer for the event. I'm sure he has reached out a lot of Ugandans in his reach. He has communicated.
However, he's not a chairman. He is a president of Uganda community in Illinois. So calling him a chairman might be belittling him. I don't know, but he's a president. You mean
I don't know why we are so obsessed with titles as Africans. But I mean, he's doing a good job. That's what I would say.
That's the important piece. He's doing a good job. Yes.
Yeah, he has done a good job reaching out to the community to ensure that he invites people for the event.
Okay. So thank you. Any other thing, Chigundu, that you want to share with us? I know the Michigan one. Actually, before we go anything, can you share with us something small about Michigan, and then we'll be going to our news roundup. Anything to share with us about Michigan?
Oh, Michigan, successful launch of their farming operations. They started out a couple of years ago as a pilot, as an idea. They said, what can we do as a community besides meeting and eating and drinking every day? So they hashed out ideas, and then they embarked on a farming journey. Their Vice Minister Katabaz, brought up this idea. The community bought into it, and they went out and rented 2 small pieces of land somewhere in Ann Arbor, and they engaged the Ugandan expert, Mugema Pius, out of Pennsylvania, I think it is, who came out and gave them some good tips on how to do urban farming, small farming in a small setting. And since then, they've kept on growing. Now they are proud owners of almost an acre of land downtown, somewhere on the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. And they have a full-fledged organic farm now with irrigation capabilities and so much more. So whatever they sell, they produce is actually already under contract. If you wanted to buy anything from them, somebody has already booked it. So it's a successful story. Yesterday, they launched it officially to the public, and the deputy mayor of Detroit was there, among other dignitaries, and the founder of the organization that lists them, that initial pilot of the land that helped them launch, told to us about how they came in, and they were surprised that a group of Ugandans wanted to start farming, and they were looking for 4 lots. They were wondering, who are these people? Because according to him, many people come in and then they lease land and then they never use it. So they were first a little bit apprehensive in the beginning, but they trusted that these people, maybe they'll be different, and indeed they were different. He gave testimony. I'll be sharing that too. So it was great to witness such growth in our community. So congratulations, Michigan. And I know they have inspired many others. I'm aware that the community in Boston is also starting on this journey, trying to get into farming. So kudos to the leadership, Dr. Sarah Olugembe and her team. Congratulations.
So since what they're planting is organic, Agaba, your wife likes organic food, so now you know where to buy, organic food. Michigan, let's support them. Probably we can start it. It's something good. Are they inviting partners? We could go and join them.
Well, that's maybe that now you're intriguing me into one day bringing back to share the business model they are taking, and whether they're looking to have partners. I will have to find out on that one. I have to bring them in so tell us a little more about their operations. But yeah.
Okay, that's a sound one. Agaba, if you hadn't heard about it, this Michigan community came up with what he has mentioned, and I think that's the purpose.
I heard it from him when he told me when he was there. To me, I thought that was a positive for the community, especially the African community here in the diaspora, because that's adding value to the community besides the business itself. And we want to see more of such ventures coming up within our community to support our own community as Africans. Yeah, so we'll support them where we can. As long as they advertise and reach us, we will definitely support them in any way we can.
Thank you very much. And of course, as usual, my name is Godfrey Kaitarama, and we are here to give you the weekly roundup, news roundup, what happened. Please feel free to send comments on Tukikube, TikTok, YouTube, and many other channels that we are on. Now, we are in a political heated situation in the entire Africa, East Africa. But as we had said, our focus would be mainly East Africa and touching few here and there. But back to Uganda, where we come from, we have, the political situation in Uganda is now, I would say, very volatile because we are looking at so many things. As President Museveni is touring the entire country, talking about parish development model, commonly known as PDM. His main challenger in the 2021 elections, Bobi Wine, with Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, was in South Africa. As I talked yesterday or the other day, he landed in Canada. President Museveni also went to Kenya. So we are seeing so many movements. But Museveni's main challenger, the one we all know, Kizza Besigye, is meanwhile in Luzira in prison. And the latest is that he'll be appearing in court on Wednesday. I don't know what the panelists think. I don't know when he comes, because he applied for bail. So he's coming for hearing. So I don't know what you guys think. Do you think he'll be granted bail or not? We have, on a sad note, remember last time we came, Professor Kanyihamba, Professor Kanyihamba passed on, and he was buried earlier this week. And what caught my eye is that he was buried not in Kabale, where he was born, Rwanda district, but in Buziga. Chigundu, you and I and the governor know that it's not easy to bury in Uganda in a town. But Honorable Justice Kanyihamba was buried in Buziga, his home, but of course after seeking for permission. But then also on a sad note, we also lost a prominent politician, that is Rhoda Karema, who also passed on. May her soul rest in peace. I know, you could want to throw a word also about those people. But again, in the news, Agaba mentioned the ties between Africa and US. But look here, also UK foreign aid also is going to cut foreign aid to Africa, and this cut, which it will cost about 575 million pounds, might set cuts. It's going between 2025 to 2026. The aid, it is going to be cut by almost 40%, and that it will come from 0.5% to 0.3%, which is about my record is 6 billion pounds. That's what Africa is going to lose in case these cuts take place. And of course, so many things took place. Agaba, you mentioned Sudan, South Sudan, but also there is the Sudan, the one of El Bashir. If people have forgotten, that country also is not stable at all. Now we have two governments, the one headed by General Dagaro and the one headed by General Burhan. It's a country that one is leading Khartoum, the other is leading Darfur, but these are two governments in one country. You remember how Africa was, how Sudan was strong. How you mentioned Chan, it's one thing that also dominated our news. And then look here, the flag bearers in Uganda coming up. So far, National Resistance Movement has confirmed President Yoweri Museveni, National Unity Platform, Bobi Wine, Kyagulanyi, FDC, Nandara Mafabi. Okay, they have now said, yes, we are not going to be like others. We are coming up with a new nomination. That's Nandara Mafabi. Then the national the one of Mugisha Muntu, the Alliance for Transformation, has also come up with Mugisha Muntu. We are still waiting on PFF to hear from what they say. But that's how we are going in our political. But then, the Electoral Commission also has announced that the nominations have been changed. Presidential nominations will be from September 23rd to 24th. Remember, they were higher, now they have brought them closer. Then we have the local government, which will be September 3rd, 4th. Then for MPs, where everybody is fighting to be, will be from the 16th to 17th of September. Again, NN petitions have now reached 381, and that panel that was put there has been listening to them, and I'm told a few of them have been, worked on or thrown out or something like that. But we are yet to hear from what we say. Otherwise, there are so many things that we can talk about, but those are the few things that happened in our within. So now I go to Chigundu. This week, we have two things that happened in an area where you have interest. That is the Buganda Kingdom. Okay? One, we see President Museveni meeting the clan leaders, commonly known as the Bataka. Okay? And he also met they call them the Bambeja and the Balangira. Those are the team, because there are three arms in the Buganda Kingdom. You can correct me. One, those are the royals, then the clan leaders, and the administration headed by the Katikkiro. So the president went and he donated whatever he donated that will come from you. The administration arm did not appear anywhere. Okay? Then the second one was the coronation, the 32nd coronation anniversary by the Kabaka of Buganda. Anything to say about the two before I bring in Agaba who comes from area that doesn't have a king?
Thank you. So, as you know, I am the deputy representative of the Kabaka's representative in this region of Midwest.
I like it when you mention it in Uganda, Chibundu. For my sake and Agawa, tell me how they mention it.
Okay. Nze omumyuka w'omubaka Wakabaka Musazali in the Midwest.
Even if you now switch back to English, I don't think Agaba can say it again the way you said it.
Then you that's already I don't want to put that is not correct, because now you will have made yourself the Kabaka's deputy. Kabaka has no deputy.
Okay, Sichidam, I'm sorry.
Issues of the generals, my brother.
Yeah, so Kabaka, South Saja Kabaka has been 32 years since his coronation. We congratulate him, and we are very proud of his leadership, of course. So this was the celebration was at the Muslim community hosted this year's celebration, the 32nd in Chibuli, and of course they invited everybody that they could put in that small space, all kinds of stakeholders, religious community, and even in the politics now. But it is, of course, the politicians who get the most spotlight. And when the host invited the president of the leading opposition party, right? That's who they are, to introduce the rest of the opposition, right? And he did how one would say his best to look around. I don't know if he knew that that was going to be the task that was put on him, but I could see him looking around, going through the whole list, and eventually he sat down. I don't know who else he left out, but my Katikiro, Charles Peter Maiga, noted that he had missed one important person to introduce, and that is who used to be his deputy in the Buganda region, now who's now a president of another party. He forgot to introduce him, and the Katikiro pointed that out, that hey, you forget to introduce, and that became a very viral story. Look, Buganda, or any events that Buganda.
Are you trying to be polite by saying that Honorable Robert Chagulanyi forgot to introduce Honorable Mathias Mpuga, or you are being polite?
Well,
Agaba is saying something. Yes, Agaba.
You're trying to avoid it altogether and skip it. Let's move on.
And he's the reason, it's not really trying to avoid it, but as given the context, the event itself was the 32nd celebration of the Kabaka, like we say. The Kabaka not only is prohibited from being a partisan. It is in the constitution of Uganda. Some people don't know that. It was written in the 1995 constitution, under which we operate today, that the Kabaka and all these other chiefdoms, the leaders of our traditional leaders, as we call them, cannot engage in partisan politics, right? So when an event like that, the Buganda, or those of us who serve in the Kabaka, try to, as much as possible, to prevent even the appearance that we intend to divide people, because this was an event where you have all these stakeholders, different energies, different interests, and either way anything goes, it could be looked at as having been pre-designed with the intent to divide. So I understand why the Katikiro, having seen that and realized that it's going to be spun again in some way or show, he intervened and pointed out that Wechitiba was not introduced. So that's all. I'm not trying to avoid.
Agaba, do you think that this Mumyuka Womubaka He's being honest. You can hear the way he's stammering.
It's just being polite to protect the monarchy, the institution of Mengo.
We cannot be seen to be dividing. That's we were the host. We not only are we prohibited in the constitutionally, but we pride in our being the unifying factor in Uganda's politics and general society today. Buganda,
the question I want to ask, the question I want to ask Agawa as a political analyst is, Chigundu says that the Buganda government tries to be apolitical, and then he says that he invited the head of the leading opposition party in Uganda to introduce other members of the opposition. To me, was it really necessary for the Katikiro to invite one particular person to introduce the mom of the thousands of opposition politicians?
Not the Katikiro.
And I think that's where my brother Chigundu, Ndugu Chigundu, contradicted himself when you said
it was not the Katikiro who invited it. It was our host, the leader of the Chivuli Muslim community, who not the Katikiro.
Which is okay. The function was a Buganda function. So Chibuli had no role in it. They only just gave the location for the function to take place. But the real owner of the function was Mengo. So first and foremost, let's congratulate the Kabaka for having...
Agaba, if you don't mind, I just want one question before you come in. I want to ask Shubun one question. You said it was celebrated at Chibuli. Can you give our viewers or people who don't know about this the reason why it was celebrated in Chibuli, not Rubaga, not Nakasero, not Mengo? I mean as in the churches or the Orthodox. 1, 2, then Agaba can come in. Reason why it was celebrated in Chibuli.
Not a particular reason that I know about. It's usually, this has been 32 years. Every year it is a celebration. So we can't keep holding these celebrations in one place. It becomes monotonous. So different like stakeholders again express interest in hosting the event, and the decision makers in Mengo ultimately make a choice. So this time, I would like to think it was another one of those applications, and this time
so it's just rotational. They go to different.
It goes around.
All right, Agawa, you have the microphone, my brother.
Yeah. Now, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate the Kabaka for having steered wisely the kingdom for 32 years. And also, I would like, as much as Mengo did not thank the president for having restored the monarchy and ensuring its safeguard for the last 32 years. So I thank the NRM government and President Museveni for that. And also further on that, I want to think that what Mr. Chigundu says, that Mengo is not political, I think that's a contradiction when we see actually they have these opposition guys and the prime minister inviting the political, he was very specific. Can the head of the political parties, because the leading parties in Uganda come and introduce the politicians who are here? And then that gentleman, in his wisdom, believes I can introduce this and leave one of the sons, and the Kabaka steps up and intervenes, which we thought was immature on that politician's side. On the other hand, you have to also appreciate the government's way. You have to appreciate,
1 minute. It's not the Kabaka who intervened. The Kabaka.
No, sorry, the Prime Minister. Thanks for the correction. I never want to bring the Kabaka to our level. It's not at our level.
No worries. Anyway. No worries. Just information. So, also, when you mention something about Kabaka, my brother Chigun becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah. Also, I want to show you Mr. Museveni's tolerance when it comes to politics in Uganda. Never in our history would you see opposition figures, or even here in the US, the tolerance has gone so low that if you're opposing the government, today they will not tolerate you, you will not have such a function, you will not live peacefully, people will come after you. But we are seeing people in Uganda today enjoying that freedom, whereby an institution, which is also sometimes hostile toward government, can host these opposition politicians, even have a field day of fun, introducing themselves, having fun, and they still work with government. So I thank the government for that, for ensuring that there is stability, peace for these monarchies to, continue serving their respective communities. So I'm very happy to see that the Kabaka was able to reign for 32 years and still going. And that's what we want to see in the country. I'm very grateful to that.
Yeah, but when you say the institution that is hostile to the government,
sometimes we've had that history because they have demands. They have their demands. Some of the demands are legitimate. Some of the demands are over, I think, hyped, as you would say. So that tends to create some kind of conflict because there is historical background to some of the demands they want. And let's face the fact, Uganda is the biggest kingdom. And secondly, it's the largest, the most populous kingdom in the country and central. So it plays a very vital role in our country's politics, functioning, stability. Nationally, Uganda is central to that. So as we deal politically with issues in the country, you cannot sideline Buganda. Whether we like it or not, Buganda is very central. And that's why in my previous talk show, I was very grateful to the Kabaka. I have a lot of respect for him, is because of his leadership that he and the central government have been able to coexist for 32 years and still going strong. That shows you the kind of leaders we have in place right at the very top. And I believe that whatever happens in Uganda, given Museveni, given his age, his experience, I believe this man respects his other colleague, his other leader, the leader of the Buganda kingdom, the Kabaka. And I think before anything is done, they communicate behind the scenes. We don't see. That's why we're seeing all this stability. That's why we're seeing calm in the country, because if the city falls apart, the government is falling. So I thank these two leaders for steering us clear. As much as one of them, I think it's time for him to, in a peaceful way, say, hey, guys, I've done enough for you. I've brought you to this level. I think it's time for you to move forward. But saying Buganda is not political, it's wrong, because I believe a lot of decisions that are made in Uganda, sometimes I believe Mengo is consulted on those political issues.
There you are, Chigundo. Agaba says sometimes you guys, your kingdom is hostile to the government. Anything to mention before we go to now the president meeting the clan leaders and the loyal community?
No, it's not hostility. No, it's disagreement. We have the national resistance, Armenian national resistance movement has ideology, with some of it which talks about Pan-Africanism and other things. But that it is that ideology that sometimes just doesn't, we differs on our role as the cultural leaders or the chiefdoms in the country, because Pan-Africanism partly believes in, bring the whole of Africa together. Let's forget all these other things. But for us, we think that our traditions, our identities, it's part and parcel of who we are. We just can't simply put them on the side. So it is it's not hostility, I would say. I think it is disagreement. I'm going
to respond to that. I think when you see some of the issues that are raised, these issues have been overtaken by the Constitution. But when you see a traditional institution wanting to go back to a period before these constitutions, then that's where conflict comes in. Because we all live in America. We come from different walks of life, but at the end of the day, we live together, we coexist because of the laws. We have the Red Indians here. They have their own set of laws because they are treated as a special group of people here. You don't see them conflicting because they are laws, the laws that are supposed to govern us all equally together. Because at the end of the day, Mengo is not an independent government. They are not autonomous that they can have their own. The constitution they may have has to be in line with the national constitution. So if anything goes out of that, despite them being a tradition, whatever it is, the central government has every right to rein in on them if they are not within the rule of law. If they break the law, they will come. The government will definitely step in, because the things they demand sometimes are way beyond what the central government can do. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I think the Kabaka fully understands this, because he's a man who's extremely wise, knows when to speak and what to say. We don't see him throwing words anyhow, and that's why I'm very proud of him. I'm sure that behind the scenes there is a lot of discussions that we don't see.
But Agaba, if the Buganda Kingdom, as you and I know, that the things they are demanding for, these are things that they have had for a period of time. Like, for instance, I was listening and people were saying, when are they returning the central police station to Buganda? When are they returning ABCD? So when they say we need our things, because government promised them. There are many things that the government promised them. You remember before Peter Nyomi died, they handed over to them some land titles. Chigun will correct me, but not all of them. There are things they promised them. And when they say we are reminding government to give our things, does that mean they're being hostile? Is what I wanted you to clarify on. And then we'll go to Chigun, and Chigun will tell us that, I mean, as Agaba says, really, are you not being fair to them? If, like you say, you want to have everything, then what will the central government have? Agaba,
but you also have to understand, actually, Mengo is at war with its own people. Because you and I don't own huge chunks of land in Buganda. Even the land they want, is it Maida Kenda, the one they talk about, was not given to foreigners. That was given to the Bataka. Those that connived with the foreigners and betrayed their Kabaka. And now these people got land that already had Bagandas who had settled on that land. So now this is a historical issue that was created by colonizers. Now, these leaders that have come in, why they've conflicted with Buganda, it has been very hard for these leaders to come and say, hey, Godfrey, you lived on this land even before this land was given to these guys. Now, how do they evict you? Because the people that betrayed the Kabaka got this land. Then this other land that was left to the Kabaka, people settled there. People have generations been on that land. It's not like it's open free land. And I think that's where Mengo establishment also, let's look at Mengo from a different perspective. They are the elite Mengo people, and they are these staunch conservative Bagandas. Now, those also conflict because they look at what is reasonable, what is real, what can be done, and what cannot be done. Because I can bet that even Saba Sajja himself, even if they said, we've given you all this land, he's not going to evict these people. These people have been there since time immemorial. So how do you handle this issue? You're a king of people who are on your land. Where do you put them if we give you this land? Because if you give that land to Mengo, what you're going to create is a double taxation. And if you give them land which they are not going to tax or going to utilize for any benefit, then it doesn't make sense. Because if the Kabaka takes the land, the government taxes the same people, or for land, or the houses, whatever it is today, government is implementing these taxes. Then Mengo is also going to come and say, that means they don't even own that land. That means they don't control one of their factors of production. Land is one major factor of production, because they might even be evicted. What if Mengo decides and says, we are bringing in investors, you guys have to move to Basenzi? So those are things that the leaders in government, and I think Mengo, every day have to deal with. How do we protect these people? Majority of these people who are on this land are Baganda. So that's why you see Mengo, as much as Mengo demands, Mengo does not so hard fight, because they know that the people there are their people. How do you get this land back because that's the biggest issue. What about the property, the property that belonged to Mengo? How much of that property can you give back to Buganda that the colonialists left behind? But also remember that when colonialists built these structures, they were for the colonialists to operate, to do their work in trade and all that. So when they were leaving, they handed it to Buganda, because Buganda at the time was the established government. But it's not that they were strictly built by Buganda, and Buganda became the custodian of these buildings as we built constitutions and government, because the people that built these structures were Ugandans. So when we get a constitution, some of this property goes back to the Ugandan government, because at the time, the monarchy was abolished. There's no monarch. Now, when this is re-established, it becomes extremely difficult when you go back to history to trace this. These guys got this, but they didn't earn it. They didn't deserve it. It's like the Bunyangabu and Bugangaizi, when you saw we went into a referendum for them to be returned to Bunyoro, because Buganda connived with the colonialists against Kabalega, and the reward was territory from the other kingdom. So these errors are being corrected by current leaders, and I believe future leaders may even get worse. So for me, my fear is people have their traditions, we have to maintain them, but as they become a thorn in the political fabric of our country, actually they risk their own existence, because we can never go back to monarchism. We have become a republic, and that's how a country is going to move forward. So the more they become a little bit difficult to work with, we might have a politician who's not a Mr. Museveni, who's very tolerant. So what happens? So that's where my fear is, because look at KB, when they were talking of restoring these monarchies, Besigye was one of the people that was opposed to them. Maybe now he has changed his perception of that. So we have to be very mindful to preserve the future of these monarchies, because they're very central to the people of Uganda. We don't
let me bring in Chigundu, because he may not respond to this, because remember we need to talk also about the Bataka. So Chigundu, quickly on your response, and then we can connect it with the Bataka, because now when the president leaves his comfortable home, State House, to go and meet the Bataka, hand over the 2 acres of land that he promised them, the clan leaders that he promised them, and also the billions of money that he promised them to construct that mega structure. How would you come in before you respond to that? Respond to Agaba, and then we can talk about the clan leaders.
Yeah, in response to Mr. Agaba, I know he labors to articulate the challenges of the past, and that's what they are. It's a challenge to all of us. This is how we came into present-day Uganda. Today, nobody is interested in going back to what you would say, doing away with the Republic. No, we all recognize the Republic is here. What we are advocating for and haven't been able to agree on with everybody else is just sharing of power. We have federalism. It works in many places around the world, and we're just looking for to share power so that we have better control over and able to make decisions closer to us than waiting for everything to come from and be done by the central government. The central government has a role to play, and the chiefdoms and the local centers have a role to play. So we're just looking for a better power sharing agreement. That's all. The Republic is here to stay. We're Uganda. That's not going back. But moving on, because we could spend the whole day on this.
I know. He wants to spend.
Okay, the last one. Let me respond to the last one on that.
Okay.
I hear that kind of argument where Buganda wants to become autonomous, more or less autonomous, but work with a central government, or basically federal is like decentralizing power to different parts of the country. But looking at the bigger picture here, because if we go that route, let's forget about the development. Because here today, if Babia was a leader, what am I looking for? I'm looking at consolidating and expanding my country so that I can attract investors into the country. You cannot tell me today we are 42 million people. What kind of investors can we invite in our country? Look at Rwanda. Rwanda has done so much, but because of its small population, Rwanda cannot invite industries back into their country. First and foremost, any investor first looks at the local market. Now, we have to be advocating for a bigger market. What Museveni did, because Museveni, like we always say, wanted to preserve himself in power, Museveni divided the country further by further weakening the country. He came in when we had 33 districts. Today we have more than 100 districts. Look at parliament. People who cannot agree on one thing. It's like everybody's fighting on one another. So the more we fragment already a small country, as poor as it is, it's to our disadvantage. Because today we should be encouraging Godfrey, Mr. Chigundu or Babi here to invest in the country. But if I have to deal with different chiefdoms to have to get agreements to do something, I'm not going to go through that stress. There are certain things that must be centralized, and we expand because that's where we're going. The world is becoming more commercialized, not in terms of management, and then consolidate wealth in the hands of a few people. Because Mengo, at the end of the day, will cater for its own interests. Today, you cannot tell me 32 years, I don't know how many schools, how many hospitals, how many roads, despite getting a lot of support from government, we've seen that Mengo has built. Everybody does politics. We do talking too much in Africa. We do little. So if you see these institutions doing something, then you would say, but Mengo has established a lot of schools. We are seeing a lot of roads. Farming has improved in Buganda, but there's still famine in Buganda. Employment has improved in Buganda. Mengo advocates for this, is fighting government for this. That would be very reasonable. If Mengo came and told the central government, no, we want jobs, we want this, we're going to do this, and you see friction out of that, then you say these guys have a point, things are not moving the right way. So for me, that's where I come in and say, as much as you want to drive towards Mengo, let's first look at what has happened in the 32 years before we give them more power. Who's going to benefit from that power? Who benefits from the money that comes from the taxpayers to these institutions? You know, so those are things to look at.
As Chugundu said, when we start talking about federalism, you know, the power struggle between the central government and the Buganda Kingdom, that is, we need a topic like for 3 days. So allow me, I cut this, then we quickly delve into the president, Museveni, meeting the clan leaders and probably what he did. And of course, we have the representative here. I don't know whether I was privy to that because it looked like it was an ambush to the kingdom. The president decides to meet the clan leaders and the lawyers. Now, my question is, are we seeing President Museveni bring all this because he's looking for votes? Because Agaba says that Buganda is not unique. I mean, it's like
it is unique. It is unique.
It's unique
in our politics.
Yes, it's unique, but I mean, it should be treated like any other part of Uganda. But now the president visits the clan leaders and donates billions of money to the clan leaders, and the clan leaders in our history, they determine a lot. They should be. However, some members of society, especially the opposition, are saying this was wrong. There must be something that the president is doing. Now, I can also bring a rejoinder. You all know as Agaba, is it you, Agaba, who mentioned that Professor Kanye Ihamba, before he died, was not seeing eye to eye with President Museveni. So, you know, at one time, Agaba said there was that hostility. Yes, it might have been there, but we don't want to mention it. But we are seeing now the president coming out. He visits the clan leaders and gives them whatever is given them. Then he goes and attends the burial of he went and visited the family. So what do you see as Chugundu? The president's visit to the clan leaders and also the absence of the leadership of Mengo, the administrative unit of the kingdom.
Right. Yeah. Must I remind you and our viewers that I'm not the official spokesperson for the government of Momengo. I am not. These are my opinions. These are my views. I don't speak for the Kabaka and the government. Okay, but here's my take. Mr. Museveni is a politician, and he's going to peddle political influence around. When he identifies, engages a section within the three amasiga nga bwe tugaita sections, amasiga balangira abataka, and then Mengo, the government headed by the Katikiro, and he taps into individual actors and brings them together and try and
I have some friends. You're going to have some friends who will be asking me what amasiga means. Can you please make it clear?
Those are the pillars. Those are the pillars, like
the pillars, the arms of the Buganda kingdom, right?
The arms, yes. Those are the pillars that anchor the Buganda kingdom. The Abataka, the clan leaders, Abalangira, the royals, and then the government itself, headed by the Katikiro. That's like the executive arm. So Mr. Museveni, who is into the space of politics, can engage everywhere that he wishes to. So he's engaged some individuals from those, particularly from the Bataka side, and then maybe some royals. Met them, had conversations with them, promised them resources, made them offers. That's what he's doing. The reason the Prime Minister and the Mengo side was not there because they were not engaged on this. We have disagreement on those things. Like I tell you before, we're on the table and negotiations are going on with the central government, still ongoing. You heard recently when the Attorney General Chwanuka Chidiowa spoke. They said that they are ongoing conversations. There are disagreements, of course, but the conversations are ongoing. So that's the reason the Kabaka was not there. The Kabaka was not represented in terms as far as the Katikiro and the administration being a part of those visits or the engagements that Mr. Museveni did. So, like you say, Mr. Museveni has ideology and he wants to see things move in a certain direction, and the others who disagree. We happen to say we can share power under the same republic. The central government will have its role to play, and the others will have other roles to play. The idea of decentralization was an attempt to offer an alternative, and I think it didn't gain any traction for that very reason. Those small units, the little districts, are not viable. They actually ended up increasing cost of government. So that one has struggled to take off. For us, we are here saying, I think what we are asking, what we are offering, what we are suggesting is a better way to approach the issue of power sharing, as opposed to any other methods. For us, we're saying, let us look at us as this unit, and we can better handle our issues, and they just allow us to do so. We don't collect any taxes for the 32 years. No taxes collection, but I think we have demonstrated, and we continue to do, that we can deliver services. That people, you ask people around the people Uganda today, I think most people would not disagree that we have, irrespective of being constrained with that, we don't collect any taxes. We are just being very creative and doing so many other things. Like we call it in Uganda, we say federal eyebikolwa. We are just doing other things without the power of collection of anything, not even a local tax. And we are doing what we're doing. So that's clear demonstration that we, even given bigger responsibilities, we can even better serve. But the Kabaka also said let us be careful of those who you're given these simple donations, and they might be you used in a way that you may not like. So you have to. He warned on this 32nd anniversary about not falling into traps of donations, because we are interested in bigger picture things that are going to ultimately solve this challenging history that we have and that Mr. Bagaba always speaks about.
So are you interpreting the president's visit to the clan leaders as one of those?
Baganda's using ghetto. They're using ghetto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Like I said, the Kabaka warned us about those Bunyebwas, the donations, and even and I think even going into this political season, because the Kabaka wants to see people vote wisely. People are given waraji and it's sugar, a kilo of sugar, and they are influenced to vote in a certain way. So he is speaking to, in my view, all of that. It is the season, and he used the opportunity of the 32nd anniversary to communicate to his subjects and well-wishers that look beyond these short-term things that are put in front of you and think about the big picture.
Yeah.
Akaba,
I'll respond.
The same, before you respond, the same clan leaders that met the president when the Kabaka was admitted in Namibia. That was against the the prime minister's permission. I don't want to call it permission, but there was some conflict that they went, to meet the Kabaka. The Kabaka in Namibia. They had met the president, and he promised them facilitation to go to Namibia, against, the amusement of so many kingdom officials. So when the president goes to meet the same people, now the head of the executive, the Katikiro, refuses. I don't want to say refuses, but does not show up. Are you seeing that there is? Do you see something that we are not seeing, that probably Chugun is not telling us, that the president now meets, because there are three arms of the kingdom?
Do you remember what I said, that Mengo seems to be divided between the traditionalists who are conservatives and the elite, like the prime minister and these other young people who have been included in the management of the kingdom? The Bagandas have a good saying. One of their sayings is "Etasima ebulwa ajua." When you see some of the things they throw at the NRM government and Museveni specifically, then things could go wrong. Then you realize that, to be honest, no matter how much you do, some people will never thank you. And there is no future leader will think that if he comes in, because we think when Museveni leaves, we're going to restore our constitution to 2 terms. We don't want presidents going on for 40 years and stuff like that going forward. But when that is done, I don't see many leaders reading history, seeing what is happening today, and thinking 10 years these guys will ever say thank you to anybody for what you do. Because when you hear the Kabaka, that statement, whether it's against Museveni or anybody, some statements you have to be very careful, because they transcend Museveni. Because if I came in as a president, those are things I'm going to be listening to, and I'm like, these guys are not appreciative. They always demand, they always want something more. So that's how you're going to deal with them. But however, this visit of Museveni to the Bataka, I don't think it's out of the blue, and he didn't ambush them. That's why I always believe there is communication in the background we don't see. Museveni is a very, very wise man. Actually, Museveni's biggest strength, in a good way, is Museveni acting as a wise fool. People will abuse him, but he's a very smart man. He knows what he's doing. And Museveni knows better that you do not poke a bear when you do not have to, because he knows the consequences. He is not going to go to Buganda to do things like that without highest level communication. So the time he went to the Bataka, because as much as my guy is the prime minister and the Wasaja being a brother to the king, still there are these other Batakas who are also working with the Kabaka. Some of them are even his agents. So there is different channels of communication between the Kabaka and different people. So the time Museveni went to meet these people, I'm sure there must have been some high-level communication, because Museveni, like I've said again, is not a fool to poke a bear well knowing consequences, because a Kabaka's word carries a lot of weight. So if Museveni went against his advice and the Kabaka spoke, you would have seen a reaction there. I don't think the Bataka would have met Museveni. If the Kabaka had said Tugenda, that would never have happened, because Maiga sometimes I don't think really speaks for the Kabaka. That's where I think, go wrong. Sometimes there is a representative. And sometimes through such representatives, we may see Mengo or the king in bad light, when actually the man means something else. Because I've seen that man, whether in public, everywhere, is a calm man. He doesn't speak anyhow. He calculates what he has to speak and when to say it. He doesn't just speak, and he doesn't talk for too long. So I want to give some bit of reasonable doubt here that these two men Museveni did not just go into the other territory without talking to the head of that kingdom and say, hey, these people are coming here and I'm going to come in here. The only thing I disagree with Mr. Museveni, I know it's campaigns. A lot of taxpayers' money is being wasted on issues when we have a lot of pending issues in the country. Hospitals don't have medicine, roads are bad, education has become almost unaffordable for parents. Even where free education is provided, the quality of education is still very poor. I don't even like it that the government has to give money to whoever approaches Mr. Museveni. I'm seeing him buying land for people. He doesn't have to do that. Then you have to give all these political parties money. And that has become a huge distraction to them. So we are wasting a lot of national resources on a few issues. And I also support Mr. Chigundu, and I believe in Chigundu when he says Mengo should be given resources to develop its people. We don't have to go through federal. But what Museveni can create, he has to call these leaders and ask them, what are your proposals on how you're going to implement these programs? Instead of getting all this money, the Wealth Creation Program project you talked about, Godfrey, and give it to soldiers or people who may not even be qualified to help people overcome poverty. It becomes like political bribe money. They are giving it to their political favorites. But if you take this money through local government, working with these institutions like the Buganda Kingdom, the Toro Kingdom, the Busoga Kingdom, and say, what are the areas we need to focus in? How are you going to help us monitor these projects for the people? That would be, I think, a better approach that Buganda saying we want federal, then Busoga will come and demand something, Toro will want something, Bunyoro will want something. Then we'll get in a situation where we can't agree because everybody has different demands. It doesn't mean you have to offer all these demands. So how do you work with kingdoms as vehicles of social transformation, since you don't want them in politics? For me, I think
that's it. That's how do we and that's the ongoing conversation. But I think we might.
I see you put a smile on Chigundu's face, so I don't want us to dilute what you said. But I want us to quickly run to something that has put our country, Uganda, on the map. Of course, our East Africa, that is CHAN, which all of you almost touched. That is the Africa Nations Championship. Which for the first time has been hosted by 3 nations, the East African nations, that's Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And for viewers and listeners, maybe who may not be following, this CHAN, the Africa Nations Championship, is mainly on players who are from home. They don't play for international. They are just their home guys.
Local players. Local
players are the ones who don't have international connections. And it's a precursor to the African Cup of Nations. But what are we celebrating? That this comes with so many advantages. One, publicity. People are going to make money and everything. But the good news is that the opening match was yesterday, Saturday, and it was between Tanzania and Burkina Faso. And I don't know which any of you followed it. Tanzania beat Burkina Faso 2-0. The Baganda say beat 2-0. So congratulations. Chikondo has laughed at me. Congratulations to Tanzania. But in Uganda, it's tomorrow on Monday at 8 p.m. where we are going to meet Algeria. And we are all saying, God help us. Because Nigeria is not a simple team. Yes, it's not a simple team. So, Chan, I'll begin with you now. Okay, let me go to...
No, I don't follow the... I'm too engaged into this other thing. I don't follow the sports, unfortunately, but I congratulate our region for having... being given this opportunity to be the host, and I wish everybody, particularly Uganda, well. I haven't been following it, so no comment, no further comment.
No problem. Okay, so Agaba, I know you must have been following. You know the advantages that Chan would come with. Any comment on the Chan?
First and foremost, I want to congratulate them for the changes that were made this time. They increased the prize money to 3.5 million. The second team, the runner-up, is going to get 1.2. And then the tournament overall, the overall investment in the tournament is going to be 10 million. That means in this period of time, we are going to see the East African community bring in more than $10 million. If we win the trophy, that would be probably 13 or 14 million US dollars remaining in the East African community. But the fact that 3 countries are hosting it, that brings unity for us to work together, because we're going to have a lot of cross-border. It's going to boost kind of trade. And the fact that they are focusing mainly on raw talent, local talent, this is going to help boost competition and motivate young people to, improve their skills. So I look at it as a unifying factor for us as a region, and contributing a small portion to our economies. I welcome it, and I'm very happy, hoping an East African country can take the trophy, because that money remains within our East African economy.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, when you talk about the value and then that comes out of this for the region, you reminded me to spin back a bit into the politics again, because I know Mr. Museveni is in Nairobi engaging, furthering East African.
No, he's back. He came back.
He's back, but he was there.
He was there, yeah, true.
We're still challenged as a region on our journey to political union. And it is things like this, being able to work on large projects like a soccer tournament like this, that might help us maybe come back into the right direction, because looks like we from a political standpoint, we tend to drift further apart when we have different politics and in Kenya dynamics and different dynamics in Tanzania. We can't even allow cross-border engagements, even for lawyers. We are fighting that. Tanzania recently made a decision to say, if you are engaged in Juakali, small business, then they have certain criteria they've targeted. We don't want those from these other East African countries doing business in Tanzania, selling airtime or these other activities they've targeted. The bottom line is that they are curtailing business actors from these other neighboring countries, these sister countries from within the region. And one wonders, when are we ever going to get to political union if we can't even allow cross-border business activities? We should be opening up the space instead of locking it down.
You mentioned it.
So, yes.
I can give you some information. You know, Martha Karua was deported from Tanzania. Martha Karua, a Tanzanian lawyer, was deported from Tanzania back to Kenya. And the same lady, when she was in Uganda, remember how long it took for her to get a practicing certificate?
Yes.
To practice in Uganda, but continue to give you some information.
Yeah. So basically, Mr. Museveni is in Nairobi engaging and signing memorandum of understandings, a whole slew of them. That is all good. But how are we going to get, I mean, the challenge that he reminded me about is how are we going to get to the political union? It is these things, these engagements. Sports, you'll be surprised. Sports can help bring us closer together, because we still have a challenge as far as our journey to the political union.
You see, all of us advocating for that. That's why I was opposed when you said Buganda wants federal. For me, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I want to see East Africa and beyond unite, because that's how we're going to attract investment. But we have huge challenges internally. When you look at our level of education, everybody is poor. People, poverty brings selfishness. People become jealous, become selfish. They don't want to do anything because of poverty. But if we educate our people, because education is going to empower our children, first and foremost, knowledge is power. So once these kids are educated and they realize that for them to expand, if they are going to become producers of services and goods, they will need a market. And that market cannot only be within their confines of, say, Uganda. You need to go to East Africa, Kenya, if you produce. Because if, say, today I produce maize in Uganda, almost everybody is going to produce maize. Who am I going to sell maize to? You might find Kenya, they don't sell the maize, so I can trade it there. If you want to attract investors from China, from US, from Europe, these guys are going to look at the population. First and foremost, the levels of education, their GDP, penetration of information technology, what are their income monthly. That's very critical. If I make a phone that costs $2,000, how many people in Uganda alone can afford a phone of $2,000 every year and upgrade it there? So those are barriers that actually hinder us. Now, if our leaders are beginning to again break away because of small issues, like you say, small traders, if you're talking of an Indian coming to Tanzania to do that, we can say, no. This is a preserve for East Africans. If a Tanzanian thinks he has something he can do in Uganda that we don't have, it's okay. Come and do it. So for me, I want to see that kind of spirit. Then Museveni's visit to Kenya is, I think, it covers a lot of things that some of them we may not see. Recently, Mohon's made a statement and said, we are pulling out of Somalia. Why did he make that statement? We are seeing the Southern Sudan military fighting with Uganda. Then Congo, we didn't mention this, people were massacred by ADF. So when you see all these, and we know Kenya is central in these issues, and Museveni is the kingmaker, did he go to the biggest economy to talk to them to see what can be done besides the 8 memorandums of understanding that he signed? So you have to look at this. And one thing is that sometimes people think I support President Museveni. I love the man. I salute him for what he has done. But I think, but I don't.
That we can all agree. I salute him too.
But I don't support his continuation.
The only issue that I have is that I think
that's what I'm saying. But what I keep telling people, that man has been not well celebrated, because when these young boys came into the region was a mess, almost the entire sub-Saharan Africa. And during the 1985 peace talks, Moi made a comment and said, these young men are not here for only Uganda. They are here for a greater, they have a bigger plan. And we are seeing it today. Moi left, Mobutu left, Habyarimana has left, Sudan got it, the Black Sudan got its independence from the Arabs in the north, Somalia is still struggling with the terrorists. So Museveni has been stretched so much as they call him warmonger. Museveni has done what was needed in the region, because for the most part, we've relied on Western powers and they've intervened at their will. And some of these Western powers have been actually, they've double-crossed. They come to Godfrey, say something, then they come to me, say something. They've been instigators of actually violence, because divided when we are divided, is to their advantage. Now, Museveni steps up and says, no, we have to clean up this mess ourselves. These people are never going to clean up our mess. So we have to give him credit that he has failed to a greater extent as a manager back home because of corruption, failed infrastructure, and a lot of things. But when you look at the regional level, this man has reorganized the entire region and beyond, and we are still seeing his hard work, because the people that have the current guys are his product. But as they leave, I think they will find a better organized region for them to build on that. When the entire Africa refused to work with the ANC during the apartheid era, he is the only guy who stood up and said, I'll host them, against almost everybody, because they were looked at then as terrorists. Mr. Museveni alone stood and said, I'll host these South Africans. That's why you see when South Africans were very hostile against Africans, one country they picked out, Uganda. They always wanted to protect Ugandans because of that. So I think what Museveni has done is what the Nkrumahs did, but Museveni is doing it at a smaller scale on the African level. But when it comes back home, yeah, I have a lot of issues with him because of corruption. There are people who are very, very wealthy and they cannot account for that money. And these people still serve in public service under his government. So that bothers me a lot, that people continuously with impunity commit crimes. They are not questioned. They steal government money and they still continue to work. So that's why I have concern. And one of his cadres, one of his generals who has now taken over another country, we see what that gentleman has done for our neighboring Rwanda. I have a lot of respect for President Kagame, because what he has been able to do within a very short time to transform Rwanda, yet we are still behind, is incredible. We have the capacity, we have the means, we have a bigger population. We can do these things as long as the rule of law is implemented to the letter without favorism or any impunities. I think we can achieve a lot as a country.
Yes, I know we can talk and talk, but time may not be on our good side.
Yeah.
I had mentioned that we lost Professor, the two, great son and daughters of Uganda. So I wanted to give each one of you a minute to talk about any of them. Professor Kanyehamba, Rhoda Karema, if you know anything about them, please mention it and then we'll be wrapping up.
Professor Kanyehamba.
Yes,
Professor
yes,
Kanyehamba. Allow me to go on that one because he tickled me. Who the better champion the rule of law? Because that's what he said. Part of Uganda's challenges is rule of law. That's what he's saying, and I agree. Professor Kanyehamba, may his soul rest in peace. He was a very big champion and a believer in the rule of law. No favoritism, no nothing. Just do what the law says. And this is what this man stood for. And if we get many more Kanyehambas in Uganda, and those who have actual power listen to what they're saying and implemented as much as what they advocate for, we would skyrocket. So the rule of law enforcing will help us beat back corruption, because people now do whatever they want. There's a lot of impunity, is because we have a weak implementation of the law in Uganda. So that is challenging us. That's why people can say, "Gwe Zomanyi, Ompita, Gwani, who are you?" They believe you have all these little power centers where people can do whatever they want because of that challenge. So may he so rest in peace. And I love him for having also called himself the son of Chigezi, but a loyal subject of the Kabaka. And he chose to be buried in Buganda, partly because of that. So he strongly believed in
so probably he could be the only he could be the only Muchiga. You know, we don't have kings and queens in Chigezi. So he could be the only Muchiga who believed in the Kabaka of Uganda, right?
He's not the only one. We have many. Trust me, we have many friends.
Okay. So anything about Rhoda Karema before I go to Agaba? Anything you remember to any of them?
No, I'm gonna let Gaba comment on that because I didn't internalize that. I don't want to speak
Okay,
of that.
Agaba on any of them, either professor or, because I think.
I will start with our mother of our parliament. She was, I think, Rhoda Kalema was the first female member of parliament, and today should have been her birthday because she was born on August 3rd, 1929. That's when she was born. So
96 years.
Yeah, so I think her, like Professor Kanyaihamba, have run their race. They've done what they had to do for the country. They've contributed. And like I always say, none of us is going to avoid this journey. They were old enough, and I wish them to rest in peace, because at the end of the day, none of us is getting out of this differently. They've lived very fruitful lives. They were all, I think, above 80, 90 years.
No, for Rhoda Kalema was 96, and Kanyaihamba was about 83, 85 then.
Yeah, he kept saying Winnie Boniface Byanyuma told him that he was older than Museveni by 2 years. So he was trying to relate his age to Museveni. But all in all, I think we've been very distinguished personalities in our country, and may the Lord forgive them for whatever wrongs they did, and strengthen their families, and may they rest in peace. That's all I can say for now.
Okay, and your last part, anything you want to say? For me, what I want to conclude with was in the news, I don't know that you watched, there's a clip of a guy who had bought about 10 acres of land and claimed somebody called Agri, put him on a gunpoint and bought his land, and they gave him 10 million. And this is land that has been owned for a long time. He had cocoa, he had coffee, he had so many things on the land, but they came and they were evicting him. It's a video that's circulating. So when we talked about the unfairness, and I said, why, and who is this? That really, you come and evict such a man, he's been there for 30 years, much as he's a Chibanja holder, you're evicting him. And I know the law says, before you do anything, consult the Chibanja holder. But it's being thrown out, and yes.
I think we need to find time and discuss. We need to find time and discuss this land issue, because I think the whole land issue was politicized partly to weaken the Buganda government. But I think it's also unfair for Chibanja holders, especially those that came onto the Chibanja with the people that have titles. You empower Chibanja holders over titled people, because then how is a person supposed to develop his land? I think this law stakeholders need to come and sit. If I come and buy land and there are people, that's a different case. But if you buy land and the person claims, hey, this is my Chibanja, no house, no nothing, it's just a bush, and then you get your clean title as a Ugandan, you go to the land, you have no encumbrance, then at the end of the day, when time comes to develop, people start showing up. Or what is the best way for this Chibanja, this squatter landlord issue must be handled? It creates a lot of friction. People are killing each other. People are losing property. Because for me, my own simple thinking, if I'm a title holder, I have to give the first priority if I want to get out of my land to the Chibanja holder. Do you want to regular? I'm giving you this. This is what I'm asking for, fair price. This is market price. I want to sell off my land because it's my property. You're a squatter. So at that point, negotiations begin. If you can't, I give you a period of time and tell you, I want to get rid of my property. Because what you're doing literally, you're saying you have a title, but the land is not yours. It belongs to this guy without a title. So if I want to...
For the sake of our viewers and listeners, this particular video that is making rounds, this guy has been on that land for 30 years. He has coffee, he has cocoa, he was farming there, and he says all the neighbors know him. Now, why I picked interest in it is that somebody came and they are forcefully buying it from him at 10 million. And he says, on a gunpoint. So I thought it's an issue that concerns you and I, that we can, talk to people. Why would somebody come out like that? I agree with you. But of course, the current laws, as you say, before I go to buy land, the Chibanja land or whatever I want to sell it, I must go, I come and ask you, are you able to buy? They say, Kwebula, are you able to buy yourself?
Yeah, people have lost lives, and we are seeing. I saw, is it Sedu Museveni, one of Museveni's brother, a guy poking his stomach, telling him to go, saying a lot of things, and it's becoming very violent to that level. Then you see people in the north saying we don't want Abalalo. So when you hear all these things, then I think the government should realize, should I think pay close attention to the sensitivity of this land. There's also a lot of land grabbing. Those with money, they come in, bulldoze people. But this is, let me say this. For anybody who takes someone's land illegally, remember governments are going to change, because Museveni at the end of the day will have to leave. If a person has his genuine title, and the law is very clear, if you put something permanent on land knowingly is not yours, you will lose that. So people at the end of the day, there will be tribunals to try and investigate all the people that are grabbing people's land illegally. If you can't explain, you're going to lose at the end of the day. Because people are suffering, they have nowhere to run to because of impunities in government. People cannot be heard. Because of corruption, people cannot be heard. So let's have faith. When government changes, people will be heard. And those that are taking advantage of the system right now should remember that land matters,
Agaba, they're like politics. They are so controversial.
Yes.
Anything to have Chigundu, Agaba, anything, because for me, that is what I saw. And as you come in, I also saw another funny, one of the petitions that have been brought in by NRM. Two brothers from the same mother, one won the other one, and took the one who was beaten, took the brother to the tribunal. And today, as I was watching, the young brother, no, the older brother is the one who took the young brother. The one is called Benjamin Cadet. He took him to the tribunal. And today I was watching. Now the elder brother said, now, instead of my young brother becoming an MP, I would rather this guy don't be an MP. So I said, where are we heading? Guys, any of your parting shots, and then we close. Sorry, we've taken long.
We joke too much in Africa, especially Uganda. We are joking too much. For me, I emphasize rule of law. It must be followed to the letter. And to be honest, we must protect the voiceless, the people that are defenseless. If Mr. Museveni does not do that, then he should stop going around telling people that the peasants are his people. Abantu ba bulijjo. Because it's omuntu wa bulijjo anyigirizidwa. It's the local people that are suffering at the hands of few who have guns, who have money, who have connections in government. Like I've said, people have unexplained wealth. You ask them, where did you get this wealth? They cannot explain. That would be a starting point for fighting corruption. In this country, if you have unexplained money, all of us here know it, then it's a simple question. Can you explain your source of income? A house, if you have a big house, you have all these big cars, they're going to ask you. They will compare your income and the property you have. So for me, in conclusion, I'm just trying to encourage Ugandans not to lose heart, not to kill each other. If you're overpowered, Teweta, don't kill yourself, don't fight, but keep your judgments. That day is going to come and you will be heard, and fairness and justice will come to you. Because right now, it's a failed kind of situation. Institutions have collapsed. Everybody's survival for the fittest. So I give you hope. Things will be better. There is a better tomorrow. Mr. Museveni and his people have laid the foundation. However, Mr. Museveni cannot rule alone. He has elements in his government who are not patriotic, who are not pro-Uganda, the way they treat people. So not everything we can dump it on him, because he chooses people to work with from amongst us, and then we do these wrong things. But that day will come and some of us will raise up and say, what you did was wrong, and we'll correct that and offer justice to those that are being treated unfairly.
Chugun, your last shot.
Oh, no, I feel sorry for that individual who appears to be a victim in that video that is circulating, and hopefully he finds justice. It is someone needs to look into it. If he was forced to sign a contract, a land sale contract under duress, that can be fought back in the judiciary. there's some missing details in that video. How did this happen? Because there was no document shown. I'm looking for more about that story. I hope it is not one of those, viral stories that go around that have no basis to them. But if it is indeed a victim, I feel sorry for them, and I'm sure someone should be able to help them out. Win back what belongs to them. If there was a forced, under duress sale, that can be challenged and proven in court and fought back.
Okay, but
so Ugandans
the question is, who was involved? Who brought the gun and pointed that gun at him? Because I've seen some soldiers that have been referred to the court martial, some, I think, generals, because of the same issue of land. They wanted to take some land, I think, forcefully, but they referred them to the court martial. I didn't get the details well. It was a news flash. I didn't get it too well. I think there is some action taking place, but it's overwhelming. I feel sorry for that guy too, and I hope he gets justice too.
This channel is not for really rumor mongering, but the reason why I picked it is because it's viral and it's a video, and he has. Chugun says he wants to know, but there are documents. You saw there are documents he was flashing, and he says the neighbors know him. And he says, I have cocoa. When somebody says, I've been here for the last 30 years, I have coffee here, I have cocoa, I have cows, I have everything, and PDM. So that's why I picked interest in it. So whatever it is, I brought it up that we fight the unfairness. So this channel is not for rumor mongering. It's something that I thought was genuine. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. Today, you can see we've shot overboard, but I want to thank you, Agaba, the political analyst, a man who can say anything at any time. He fears no one except God.
Controversial, I should say.
Very controversial. Thank my brother, Tukikube Media, Salongo Chigundu, for giving us this channel for Agaba and I, to talk. You and I, Agaba and I used to meet on some radio stations, and were young men, would say whatever we wanted, but
we've never changed.
We are
Must
here.
I remind you that your opinions are your opinions. They're not the opinions of this channel.
Exactly. So the opinion
Tukikube is wise on that
today are not necessarily the views of Tukikube Media, but the views for Chigundu and Agaba. So they may be held responsible. So see you after 2 weeks. We'll be coming with the news roundup to share with you and do. But let's keep in touch. Meanwhile, remember, Chigundu mentioned that next week, 9th August, we'll be having the Uganda Community in Illinois Picnic, and the guest of honor, Her Excellency Robina Kakonge. Please come. If you want national ID, visa restrictions, anything, the ambassador herself and the team will be there to answer your questions. And we want to thank you and say good morning.
Yes, ate bwembanga mugenda ku mikolo ng'egyo nga mwagala okufuna ku bwambalo obwakabingo obwo mbaga nga muzikoledde mu Uganda munoonye oba naffe aba Angie's Creations. Angie Creations bakola obwambalo buno bwakabi. Tobeera ku mukolo ne gutanyuma weefunira akambalo. Angie Creations bajja kukolako buli kimu kyonna ky'otaaga. Nti bukyalo bwanga lwa Mindi omusumba Tom balaba mugerwa owa Mutunde Christian Fellowship agenda kubeera wano mu Chicago